In the background there. Welcome, Steve. It's good to see you again. For those of you that recall, Steve spoke to our club about the Brew Fellowship and about the history of Paul Harris. So for those who missed his prior introductions, I'll give a brief summary that he's been in Rotary since 2002, and he's a member of the Rotary Club of Pleasant Hill, California. So he's calling in from District 5160, where there's not a crazy storm. He served as president of his club, then ADG, and then he served as district governor in 2013-14. He's been retired since 2010. He worked as a supervisory special agent for the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Office of the Inspector General for 30 years, and specialized in Medicare fraud cases. And so he's got lots of interesting vocational stories, I'm sure. And today he's going to talk to us about vocational service. So welcome again, Steve. It's really good to see you.
Great to visit with you all again. Hello, Asheville. Well, we're going to have some fun while you go through the storm. We're going to talk about vocational service. And why are we going to talk about vocational service today? What's special about this time of year?
It's the theme for the Rotary month. Was that a question?
That's right.
Yes,
that's right.
It's our monthly theme.
January is Vocational Service Month. And for a bit of trivia, it wasn't always in January. It's been in January for about 5 years. It used to be in October, but they moved it to January. So we start out the year with vocational service, which is it's a tip of the hat to how important vocational service is. So let's start the program and pull up there we go. And once I get it's covering there we go, to start it. There we go. Slideshow. And okay. Are you able to see my screen? Very good. So here is Rotary 101. Can anybody give me our avenues of service? Anybody want to throw one out?
Vocational.
Well, that's yes. But there's club service. There's international service, community service, youth service, and vocational service. So we have 5. It's not the same as the 7 focuses of Rotary, or the 4-way test, or the 3-way test. We always are counting our numbers. Well, this is the list of 5. Now, it goes back to the very beginning of Rotary. It's why, and we talked about Paul Harris last time, it's why we even are in Rotary, why it got started, why Paul with Hiram and Gus and Sylvester put it together. So that's our young Paul Harris. Now we talked about this before, there were the 4 who started it. There's Paul, who was an attorney with his 3 clients. Sylvester, a coal dealer, a mining engineer, Gus, and Hiram Shora Taylor. And they did business with each other, which is why they started. They weren't strangers to each other. So vocation is at the very heart on that first day of February 23rd, 1905, why we even have Rotary. Now, the other ones, the boys of 1905, was Harry Ruggles, which we talked about him before. He's the most important Rotarian after the 4, but he was a printer. And then there was Charles Schneider, a florist, and a real estate guy, and William and Rufus. I like the name Rufus. Union Trust Company, Montague. We all remember Montague Bear. What a great name. Al White, a manufacturer, a dentist, and a physician. Then we had an architect, and we had owners. A guy, Harry Croft, who owned the paper box company. Charles, who owned the floral company. Got to have a mortician. Everybody's got to have a mortician. Then we had Fred, who owned the glass sign company. Max, who owned the furniture company. and John, who owned a painting and decorating company. Diversity is at the very heart of Rotary in the sense of diversity of vocation. We and Rotary have been practicing diversity since in the inception of Rotary by what we do for our living. All right. The idea of service, the ideal of vocational service is that our jobs in themselves are a way of serving society. Let me ask you, any of you doing a job that's not needed, superfluous, a waste of time, don't need to have it? Let me ask you, Ken, you're a PDG. What'd you do? What's your vocation?
Architect.
There's no need for that. You didn't do any service with that. You didn't build anything, did you?
No, I'm retired now, so I
But
don't
did you
remember.
build buildings that are being used today?
You better believe it.
So there was a need. Franco, what's your vocation?
Disaster services, humanitarian.
Okay. Is there a need for your service?
I believe so, in time of needs and preparation for the community. And yes, there
Yeah.
is a need.
And let's talk to Lance. Lance, what's your vocation? Are you there, PDG Lance?
Lance ran to get me a cup of coffee. And
Uh,
so his vocation is taking care of me right now. But in the past, he was a Air Force officer.
Okay. Now, you know, we talk about service above self. Service began on the very first day of Rotary, and it was there before Rotary in what we do for a living. Now, I've been Rotarian since 2002, but I worked for 30 years as a special agent. And that was my identity, was more as a special agent than it was as a Rotarian. And we serve our lives, our livelihoods are spent serving. And I don't know whether you're a salesman or an accountant or an realtor, that you don't serve the public every day in what you do for a living. And we talk about service in Rotary as service and community service, but we all are doing service by what we do for a living. And that was the very focus of vocational service. By the way, I'm the vocational service chair for our district, the one and only vocational service chair that's ever been in the district. By the way, do you guys have a vocational service chair in your club? Julia, are you the service chair? Are you, Julia, are you vocational
It's kind
service?
of by default a group think organization, just
All
from the
right.
small size of our group.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I talk about is when we're talking about Rotary is getting smaller. And if you were a football team and you weren't doing well, or a baseball team and you weren't doing well, what they tend to do is go back to the basics. And in baseball, it's pitching, hitting, and catching. Because if you don't do those well, you won't do well as a team. Well, I think about what Rotary's basics are and vocational service. And it's something that we need to emphasize because it's what we do every day. Now, this next, it's in the object of Rotary. You know, we all know about the four-way test. I mean, everybody used to have to quote the object of Rotary, but they don't anymore. And it's to encourage and foster the ideal of service as a basis of worthy enterprise, and in particular to encourage and foster, first, the development of acquaintance as opportunity for service, and second, high ethical standards in business and professions, the recognition of the worthiness of all useful occupations, and the dignifying of each Rotarian's occupation as an opportunity to serve society. Everyone here, what you do is useful and has dignity in it and is an opportunity to serve society. And third, the application of the ideal of service in each Rotarian's personal, business, and community life. Business. And fourth is the advancement of international understanding, goodwill, and peace through a world fellowship of business and professional persons united in the ideal of service. There are two words throughout the object of Rotary: service and business. What you do for a living is serve your community. You serve other people. Just by what you do, without being Rotarian, you are serving the public. Now, this is the most important quote, and the only unique feature of Rotary is vocational service. Everything else we do is repeated by some other organization. If we are unique, if we have a special message or mission in the world that is unique to ourselves, it lies only in the realm of vocational service. And that's not my quote. That came from our famous president, T.A. Warren, 4546. And what he means by that is, if all we did was service, we would be the American Red Cross, the American Cancer Society. There are a zillion of organizations that serve. The Salvation Army serves. And there are a lot of organizations that are business only. And that would be your Chamber of Commerce, your BNI, your networking groups. They do business. It's our service through our vocation, which is what makes us unique and ever has since 1905. It's what made Rotary different than anything else going. And it's that idea that I believe is the secret sauce that is applicable internationally, because it's not an American ideal. It is an international ideal because it's human nature. It appeals to everybody, which is why we've grown to 1.2 million around the world, and we have 30,000 clubs. And there's T.A. Warren. By the way, it's Vocational Service Month, and we're going to talk about what the heck is that? What do we mean by it? There are two things. It's one of the things that Rotary, and we don't press this enough, we are a standard bearer for integrity in our vocations. And does anybody think that we don't need integrity today? It seems like integrity, let's talk Harvard. Integrity is at the central of that issue. The issue of plagiarism, that is integrity. At the highest levels of our society, integrity is under attack. And who is a standard bearer? It's us. Rotary has always stood for integrity. And the recognition of the worthiness of everything you do, if you are a garbage collector, there's dignity and usefulness in that. There isn't a profession that doesn't have dignity and that doesn't have worth. So let's talk about, it's one of our avenues of service. We serve others by our unique skills that we have. We empower others through training and skill development, and we inspire others to act with integrity, following our guiding principles, 4-way test. So what does vocational service include? Connecting our professions and our professional networks with Rotary Club activities. We bring the skills and knowledge that we have from what we do for a living into our clubs and utilize them for the benefit of our clubs and the benefit of our community. We use our expertise to address community problems and help others. Mentoring, for example. Promoting our commitment to integrity. And we don't do that enough, I don't believe, is promote integrity as a standard of Rotary. Now, professionals, you join us because they represent their business or vocation in Rotary, but it's a two-way street. They bring their business and their vocation into Rotary. What's the quid pro quo that happens next? What do you think? Alberto, what do you think? What's the other half of this? You're muted.
I'm sorry.
So Alberto, what do you think? If people come into Rotary to represent, what's the quid pro quo that happens with them next?
Well, it's could be other than if their profession and their basically vocational trade can be used to help community. That's what they can do. Some others maybe they can join our fellow members and basically integrate their vocational profession.
Well, that's only 50% of the contract that we have in Rotary. You came into Rotary to bring your skills and profession, but you go out of Rotary back to your vocation and you represent Rotary's goals and standards and ethics back in business. We represent Rotary back in the vocations and for what Rotary stands for. And a lot of people don't realize it's a two-way street. The contract that we have with Rotary is fine. I'll come in and I'll bring my skills and my vocation. But as a Rotarian, I'm going to take my ethics back, which is why Herbert J. Taylor came up with the four-way test and brought it into Rotary. It came from business. It didn't come from Rotary. It became part of Rotary, and we take it from Rotary back to our businesses. By the way, who are some famous Rotarians? Orville Wright, Harlan Sanders, and these were active Rotarians, not honorary. Jimmy Carter, Sam Walton, Norman Vincent Peale, J.C. Penning, Dianne Feinstein, was Albert Schweitzer, Gerald Ford. We're in a pretty good company. Now, we all talked about the classification system. We talked about where it came from, but it's to represent a cross-section of our business community. And one of the things we should be doing in our clubs is looking around our clubs and seeing what vocations are not represented. Do we have enough accountants? Do we have physicians? Do we have salespeople? What vocations in our community do we not have represented in our club? And as I said, as you represent, and in your name tags, my club name tag has my vocation on it. I'm a retired federal law enforcement. I'm sure yours do. It shows this is where I came from, and it says Rotary on it. This is what I represent, is to back to my business. Now, what actions can you take? We talked in concept. You can host a classification talk, and we do this in our club, and a lot of clubs do this, is each member gets a chance to spend 60 seconds, maybe 2 minutes, talking about what they do for a living, or if you're retired, what you did for a living. And this is the way we get to know what everybody does and get to know our club. You can organize, now this is it. Do you know where this idea comes from? Remember the name Rotary is named because that's how we started. We went to each person's place of business. We were first at Gus's office, and then they went to Paul's office, and then they went to Sylvester's office. And that's where the name, it was going to be the rotating club. But Paul said, no, call it Rotary. So why not do it again, back to the basics? Let's take tours of our members' workplaces. This is one thing I was very big on as district governor, and even had a Chamber of Commerce liaison person. I asked each club to host a Chamber of Commerce mixer with their local chamber. And so that's the way you get known, because when you're looking for new members, one of the big places, the ponds where there's good fishing for new members, is in Chambers of Commerce. Because you know that they've got time, they're at the mixer, they're in business, and they're looking to get connected to the community. It's a great place to look for people who have, and remember, they're in business, so they're serving the public. They're already servicing. And another thing is you can accept advertisements in your newsletter, website, or placemats, and I'll show you one in a little bit. Here's it could be controversial, but it shouldn't be. You should never ask a Rotarian for a discount. You shouldn't go to somebody and say, can I get a Rotary discount? But you should offer a Rotary discount. Those are very different ideas. You don't take advantage of being a Rotarian, but as a Rotarian, you can offer a discount. Now, as I was talking, this is our clubs. Everybody who wants to puts their business card, they pay $25 to have their business card on a placemat that we put out there every week. And you can see all the vocations represented in my club. We keep this for about a year. And by the way, that $25 goes to our own foundation. So it goes back to community service. We highlight what we do during the year. You can see that we have the city council member, we have attorneys, we have the rec and park, and then it's on both front and back, and we have a waiting list. This is as many as we can handle. So we have 27 cards, and once a year or year and a half, we redo them because people move and change jobs. But this is something that you guys can do, is even as an e-club, you could put this virtually together and put it up on your screen to show the variety of vocations that you bring to the club.
Hey, Steve.
Yeah.
Is that placemat laminated, or do you just have paper
Nope.
copies that you switch out when they get used at the meeting?
Yeah, but they're made of heavy cardboard. So
Okay.
they're not laminated. And we have one of the members of our club is a printer, so we get them printed for free.
That's nice too.
Now, the other thing is, you know, we've talked about it. We emphasize integrity and high ethical standards. And how do we do this? Oh, that's right, the 4-way test. And okay, I want everybody all at once. Candace, I think you need to lead this, is the Rotarian Code of Conduct. We will say it from memory, right? How many of you know we actually have a code of conduct?
I'll do the 4-way test.
Yes, we all know the 4-way test, but I think nobody knows the code of conduct, and we might as well know what we're being held to, right? So here it is. As a Rotarian, I will, number 1, act with integrity and high ethical standards in my personal and professional life. What do you notice here? The number 1 thing that Rotary says is integrity and high ethical standards. That is the most important thing we can do, is have integrity and high ethical standards. 2, deal fairly with others and treat them and their occupation with respect. Okay? Use my professional skills to mentor young people, help those with needs, and improve people's quality of life in my community and in the world. So there's service. Avoid behavior that reflects adversely on Rotary or other Rotarians, and not seek special business or professional advantage. That's the thing. Don't ask for a discount, but you can offer a discount. So these are the 5 things we're being held to. And number 1 is integrity and ethics. So what can you do with integrity and ethics? What's some concrete actions that your club can take? Well, you can do what we're doing right now. We're talking about the 4-way test. We talk about the Rotary Code of Conduct. We can focus on these things and realize that the 4-way test, which we say at every meeting, and the Code of Conduct guide us, and we should pay attention to them. The other thing you might do is you could organize a workshop on ethics in the workplace and invite business leaders to attend and help participants focus on integrity and ethics. A lot of people have in their businesses every day their ethical and integrity issues. And in Rotary, when I was a governor, they had a club president that didn't pay dues. What do we do with that? We had a Rotarian who had drank too much. What do we do with that? And that happens at the workplace. So this is something that you guys could do virtually. We're going to put a integrity workshop together. Everybody in the community is invited. Let's talk about integrity. Let's talk about what we can do to improve it and ethical standards. You could give ethical awards, and one of our clubs in our district does that. They do a quarterly business person of the month, and this is something where they nominate an employee, not the owner, and they hold a luncheon, and the employee is brought to the free luncheon, and there's a press release put out there. Rotary recognizes John Doe as a administrative assistant in the such and such office, or the salesman, or whichever. And it brings that person into Rotary going, who? I didn't even know you existed. It gives us news to put out to the community. And again, it focuses not on just service, it's on ethics. And as much as this world needs service, I think it needs ethics and integrity even more. What else can you do? Host a business networking event with non-Rotarian professionals. Offer career counseling for unemployed and underemployed adults. Give career guidance to young people. Hold a career day, hold a mentoring day. Our district is doing a career connection day next month. It's virtual. It's not in person. It's for Rotaract attendees. They're going to have specialists in certain 4 fields that are very popular, and they're going to have them talk about those fields, and then they're going to have breakout sessions so that these Rotaractors who are looking to get into these fields can ask questions. And you can apply your professional skills to a project. One of the things we do in our district, and it's our biggest secret, and Julia knows about it. It is called Camp Venture. And we were there before the Shark Tank. If you know what Shark Tank is, you know what Camp Venture is. High school students are brought together for 1 week, and they have to create a business and a business plan and a marketing plan, and they pitch it at the end of the week to a group of so-called investors who will choose which company to invest in. It's amazing the ideas they come up with. They learn more in 1 week about vocation, about business, than they will learn in 4 years at high school, because this is hands-on, intensive, immersive, and it is our best kept secret, but it's something that we do in our district as our prime vocational service. By the way, there is a newsletter that Rotary puts out. There's a guide, there is a pamphlet that you can download or purchase. And that's the presentation.
Steve, as you may know from previous visits, that we donate a book to a little free library, somewhere here in the upstate of South Carolina, and this is one that Lene selected specifically for your presentation today. And apparently it channels Dr. Seuss in rhyming, and gives us a opportunity and inspiration to talk to young children about, okay, what color is your parachute? So thank you very much, Lene, for coming up with this, and Steve, for everything you shared with us today. You really gave us a lot of food for thought and opportunities for moving forward. So